Brother turned me into the police for cash. He regretted it. My own brother turned me into the police for cash. And trust me, he lived to regret it. It all started when I was 19. I was young, dumb, and to be honest, a bit of a troublemaker. Nothing serious, just petty stuff. But I was also a genius with computers. I could get into systems that were supposedly impenetrable. One day, I stumbled upon a flaw in a big corporation's security. It was like an unlocked door with a sign that said free money inside. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, just to prove I could do it. I siphoned off a small amount, barely a rounding error for them, and thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The corporation noticed, and soon there was a warrant out for my arrest. The reward for information leading to my capture, a cool $50,000. I went into hiding, moving between cheap motels, always looking over my shoulder. The only person I trusted was my older brother, Mark. He was always the golden child. The one who never stepped a foot out of line. He had a steady job, a nice apartment, and a fiancée. To him, I was the black sheep, the family disappointment. Still, he was my brother. I called him from a burner phone. Desperate, I told him everything. He sounded concerned, telling me to lay low, and that he'd help me figure things out. He said he'd bring me some cash and supplies that night. He showed up at my dingy motel room. He brought a bag of groceries and a couple $100. We talked for hours. Just like old times, he told me he was worried about me, that I needed to turn myself in. I refused. I was scared. I just needed a little more time to figure out a plan. He eventually agreed, gave me a hug, and told me to be safe. As he left, he said, "I love you, little brother." The next morning, I woke up to the sound of sirens and loud banging on my door. "Police, open up." Before I could even process what was happening, the door burst open, and I was surrounded. As they put me in cuffs, I saw him. Mark, standing by the police chief, looking away, unable to meet my eyes. In that moment, everything clicked. The hug, the "I love you," the $50,000 reward. He had sold me out. The betrayal felt like a physical blow, worse than any prison sentence. I was sentenced to 5 years. 5 years of my life, gone. In prison, I had a lot of time to think. The anger was a fire that burned day and night. But I channeled it. I studied. I read every book on law and finance I could get my hands on. I taught other inmates how to code. I wasn't just doing time, I was preparing. When I got out, I was a different man. I was 30 years old, smarter, and infinitely more disciplined. I got a job at a small tech firm, starting at the bottom. But I quickly rose through the ranks. My skills were sharper than ever. And now I had the discipline to match within a few years. I'd started my own cybersecurity company. We were a massive success. I had everything I'd ever dreamed of, a beautiful home, a loving wife, and more money than I knew what to do with. I never once reached out to Mark. Our parents had told me he'd had a rough time after I was locked up. The $50,000 didn't go as far as he thought. His fiancée left him, disgusted by what he'd done. He lost his job and bounced from one dead-end position to another. He was drowning in debt. It seemed karma had a long memory. One day, I got a call from an unknown number. It was him. Mark's voice was shaky, almost unrecognizable. He was rambling, apologizing, telling me how sorry he was. He said he'd been a fool, that the money had ruined his life, and that losing his brother was the biggest regret he had. He was crying, begging for my forgiveness. He then asked for help. He needed money, a lot of it, to save his house from foreclosure. He said I was his only hope. I listened silently until he finished. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing, waiting for my answer. I thought about the 19-year-old kid in that motel room, betrayed by the one person he trusted. I thought about the 5 years I lost, then I thought about the man I had become. I told him to meet me at a cafe the next day. When he walked in, I barely recognized him. He looked old, defeated, his clothes were worn, and he had dark circles under his eyes. He started apologizing again, but I cut him off. I didn't want his apologies. I wanted him to understand. I told him exactly how his betrayal had shattered me, but also how it had forged me into the man I was today. I told him that I had moved on, that I had a life he couldn't even imagine. He just sat there, head down, looking at his hands. After I was done, I slid an envelope across the table. He looked at me, confused. "What's this?" he asked. "It's a check," I said. "It's for the $50,000 you got for me, plus interest for the last 11 years. A little over $87,000. His eyes went wide. He started to thank me, tears streaming down his face, but I stopped him. "This isn't a gift, Mark," I said, my voice cold. "This is a transaction. You sold me for $50,000. Now I'm buying my freedom from you. This check settles our debt. It means you never contact me again. You don't call me, you don't email me, you don't show up at my house. To me, from this moment on, you don't exist. We are no longer brothers." I stood up and walked out of the cafe without looking back. He got the money he so desperately wanted all those years ago, but in the process, he lost something far more valuable. He lost his brother, sometimes. The deepest regrets don't come from what you've lost, but from what you willingly gave away. He got his cash. And I got my peace. I'd say I got the better end of the deal. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next one.